Hey, beautiful people, Marie here. In today's Meaningful Mindset, I would love to talk to you about adjusting the soundtrack, the images, everything that you can in your life. And the way I came to talk to you about this was I was literally just walking home from the station and I had my headphones on while I was walking and I looked into the juicy green, beautiful bush that I live in here in our beautiful country town. And it made me think how music in particular, but also the way we look at things, really changes what we look at. So, for example, I was having this thought of if you're a producer, a filmmaker, and you have to find the right images, the right soundtrack to your movie. As we all know, when we are watching a movie, the sounds that we add to it, the slow motion or fast forward of images really changes everything that we look at. So I was thinking as I was walking along and listening to my beautiful music that made the environment around me just so picture perfect and put me in such a happy state that I thought it's a really interesting thought when I would be walking in the city right now and I would fast forward the images and I would put a faster speed on everything and I would have faster music or maybe really aggressive music, how my emotion would change, how my outlook would change, and how putting juicy green surroundings and really beautiful music and a slower pace, me walking and the images being like really slow as I walk along, changes everything I look at. So, of course, that made me think how would it be if you in your life would adjust everything to your liking, would adjust the soundtrack to your liking? So, if you're in a not so happy mood, put some happy music on. If you need to sit with an emotion and really want to just cry it out, choose some sad music, create a safe environment for you to release this emotion, but have this time frame on it and go like, okay, for this song or for this entire album, I'm going to dedicate my time to releasing the emotion. We can choose our focus. If you don't trust your focus, adjust your focus. In other words, if you don't like what you look at, change the way you look at it if you can't change what you look at. Today, I actually had this real deep sense of I am in charge of my own life. I can choose the soundtrack to my life. I can choose the images to my life. I can choose the surroundings to my life. When you think about that, when you put yourself back into that state, if I can't change something in my life, I can still change the way I look at things. And even the unchangeable changes. Does that make sense? It's not true magic, it's just choice. So on Friday, I wrote a newsletter about that on LinkedIn. I call it my LinkedIn love letter. I write that every Friday morning. And I actually wrote about the fact when I became a sole parent, when I had this awakening, this really rough awakening of my husband dying and me being a sole parent in an instant. And it took me back to, being really close friends with someone who has got 3 kids. And I always admired her. I thought, I have no idea how she does it. Yet when it did happen in my life and without any pre-warning, I became a sole parent, I embraced it. Not consciously at first. I was not consciously aware of the fact. That was just something where something deep within kicked in. I would call it my higher self. And what happened was I embraced the fact. I did not slide into poor me. I did not slide into, oh, this freaking sucks and I don't know what to do about it. I embraced it, and I embraced it out of love for my children because I wanted to be the best parent there was, because there was only me all of a sudden. So I wanted to do whatever I could, whatever I had in my mind, in my power, in my choices to create a happy life for them, to be an amazing parent for them. Did that always work? Oh God, no. I had my moments. I had my fair share of falling apart or crying or fearing that I might not do a great job as a parent. You know, I went through anxiety and I went through happiness. I went through all the layers of emotions that you can only imagine. Yet in my heart, I embraced the fact that I was now a sole parent, that I'm it, that I am all they have. And I would do everything in my mind to adjust their life in a way that it will turn out happy. And that even in the saddest moments, that I'll be there holding space for them, catching them, being there for them, adjusting the soundtrack to their lives, helping them learn that, helping them be in charge and making the right choices, but being a shining example for them. So when you think about the things that you don't like in your life right now, I want you to try this out and see what happens when you embrace it rather than fight it. When you accept it as is without judging it as good or bad, without trying to change the meaning of it as in, oh, this is bad, I cannot change this. Accept the fact that you can't change it, and then see when you embrace it how everything shifts around it just by the way you look at it. So the perfect example is I cannot change the fact that my husband died, but I sure enough changed the way I looked at it. And the way I looked at it was, and again, I always say that with a disclaimer that everybody's faith is different, and I really appreciate that, and I accept that. Yet this is my way of looking at it, and this is my background, my spiritual background, my faith, that Rob and I have chosen that as our soul contract, that this was part of our soul contract. And when I recognized that, when I realized that, the way I looked at Rob's passing has changed, because all of a sudden it had such deeper meaning, it had such huge purpose. And then when this path opened in front of me, you know, the creating the movement, Loving Life After Loss, and walking that path, it literally felt like that everything was just presented to me. All the doors just opened up. All the support people in my life that I needed came along. I really felt so looked after in that journey, and it all started by me changing the way I looked at Rob's passing. In hindsight, I realized that it was a bit of an escape into happiness, and this is yet another story to tell. But right now, I can only tell you that I loved that I escaped into happiness, because that created the time frame and that created a space for me, for us to heal. I would really love to hear from you. What was your most important takeaway from today's Meaningful Mindset? Please put it in the comments below or reach out to me via PM, and I'd really love to chat to you about that. So don't be shy. Send me a message, send me a comment, or if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. I'm sending you so much love. This is Marie. Bye for now.